Fast forward, events taking place, a lot of crazy things taking place, but it's change. The change is taking place, and what's unbeknownst to how the change is place, that's what's going on with the people. They don't really see it, right? So it speeds up to this like this space where circumstances have moved and the people who are originally of this area is at a detriment. So it's conversations that are being had. And the old heads is more like it's the flow of the universe, things gonna happen. I leave it to the source. You know what I'm saying? How it's gonna play out. We just have to be prepared, you know what I mean, for it. And then you had like some younger ones that was like coming into their time and they was like, nah, we can't just sit by and let it happen. We gotta do something. And because the elders was at peace with the flow of the universe and how things went, they knew the direction they was going. So you had that energy that switched from fight, F it, we going war, to if we can't beat them, we might as well join them. And you started having some of our people, this is where the first wavelengths of energy that was pulsating out as, I'm just going to change my whole look. I'm going to look like them. And it started being like the shock of how the elders would see them come back. And they would say, see, I cut my hair. I got my outfits. I'm good now. But they're speaking in other tongue. We can live like them if we do such and such. But it was only an embarrassment, right, to the value, which thus started the replications of embarrassment through processes of time. Once that stained in the DNA, us being so much of loving people and heartfelt people, those levels of embarrassment and being brought low wasn't even known to be known that it was going to happen. But it took place right in front of these people, and they watched us be brought low. Even if we felt we was winning, we was being ripped away from everything we were. And that process kept taking a process over and over and over. It was more or less like how culture became, you can't beat them, join them culture. And it was funny that those words was even put into a way of thinking. So I envisioned this conversation with a chief and his son. I envisioned that, and it was like the kid was so adamant on change, and then somebody else saw that, and they saw that, and that was a moment that they shouldn't have seen, because they use that same scene in movies. They use it through life. You see it with people in their weakened state. It's like that characteristic or that event in life gained an audience within detriment. So therefore it was able to be replicated because of its sacrifice. Like, it's powerful like that. You know what I'm saying? So don't let this go over your head. And me and this Naga, this dragon, you know what I mean? And then not knowing, like I'm getting more information, like I'm getting more and more information, and I'm like, yo, I feel the original Indian concept, because I know who my grandfather and his people is. I know who his wife is. You know what I'm saying? My great grandma was. I seen the pictures. You know what I'm saying? I seen them when they was kids, with the feather and the head wrap, and I seen them in indigenous Indian attire on a normal day's basis. I know my great grandparents was farmers and grew produce and took it up to the city for people to sell it in the stores. I knew my mother's mother, you know what I'm saying, and her parents was from St. Kitts, the islands, and my great grandfather on that side was a fisherman, and he had his own fishing boat and company. I know these things, you know what I'm saying, and my father's family, it's crazy about how his family is, because it's like his grandmother was Dominican, jet black, like jet black Dominican, you know what I'm saying, and then his father's father was Puerto Rican, you know what I'm saying. So my father's father is half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. I don't even know how that would even be, but classifications, that's what he was. So that would be my father's, you know what I'm saying, father. So from him, I don't know. And she looked more like she was by way of the Ivory Coast though. You see what I'm saying? So naturally, my grandfather, my mother's side, and they family, they all look like, you know what I'm saying, like Dan Calloway look like he could be our cousin. You know what I'm saying? Like the way people look. You know what I'm saying? Like that sharp nose, like Seti. Like how Seti got that sharp nose. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Seti look like he could be one of my family members. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I see a lot of people around here in the States with that look. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, it really don't go far. Like the dragon is here. It's like it is, and it's like you gotta be able to get the aerial view, because it's like a few of them. It's a few dragons that died that were really big, and you can still see them, like their breakdown spot, like where they died at. And some of them, like it's one at the top of Africa. You know what I'm saying? It's one in Germany. I know it's one here in the United States. It aligns like from it goes like across the whole of Texas, all the way across, and then the tail kind of goes up. You know what I'm saying? You can see it. You know what I'm saying? You can see the tail. You can see like the body, the head, and all that. Like it's like laying down, like it died right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, so different places have these symmetries that has fallen. And how you know? Because blood grows plants. You know what I'm saying? And you can see where the blood, you can see where the feathers was on these giant beasts that were here at a different time. You can see them. You can see the remnants of them. You can even still see like where the shaft, where the feather is connected to. You can see the shaft that's left, because that'd be the last part after the feathers break down. The shaft is still there. It's just a different part of the ground, but it's still there, and they're large. They're big, like the size of the whole country. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna hold you though. I'm just bringing you a little bit of understanding. I don't even know why I went that deep into, you know what I'm saying, crossing in the idea of the Naga with the Niji. But the truth needs to be all the way out, and people need to know who they are in order for us to carry the energy that was left here. Even if other people feel like they don't have a connection, that's the only way you're gonna get one, unless you let things be what they are. You know what I'm saying? So you can rise within that energy. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing to find out truth. But then ultimately, when we rise our consciousness, we don't get worse as a people. When you rise your consciousness, you don't become a beast. You become something better. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't gonna hold you. You already know the vibes.
You know when you're in the flow, the constant flow of things. It's like wind with no wind. It's like right with no consequence. You're just flowing. The ins and outs of things. Even people seem to be more, I don't know, with gratitude, gracious, compassionate. Every light turns green. Even the store clerk seems to have her mind together these days. It's the flow. No hold-ups, no setbacks, just motion. Flowing. Reaching every destination and goal. Accomplishing great things. Flowing. In the process, watching the flow, feeling the flow, you experience the growth. Such a beautiful thing. Being in the flow. You know when you're in the flow, the constant flow of things. It's like wind with no wind. It's like right with no consequence. You're just flowing. and outs of things. Even people seem to be more, I don't know, with gratitude, gracious, compassionate. Every light turns green. Even the store clerk seems to have her mind together these days. It's the flow. No hold-ups, no setbacks. Just motion. Flowing. Reaching every destination and goal. Accomplishing great things. Flowing. In the process, watching the flow. Feeling the flow. You experience the growth. Such a beautiful thing. Being in the flow. You know when you're in the flow, the constant flow of things. It's like wind with no wind. It's like right with no consequence. You're just flowing. The ins and outs of things. Even people seem to be more, I don't know, with gratitude, gracious, compassionate. Every light turns green. Even the store clerk seems to have her mind together these days. It's the flow. No hold-ups, no setbacks. Just motion. Flowing. Reaching every destination and goal. Accomplishing great things. Flowing. In the process, watching the flow. Feeling the flow. You experience the growth. Such a beautiful thing. Being in the flow. You know when you're in the flow, the constant flow of things. It's like wind with no wind. It's like right with no consequence. You're just flowing. The ins and outs of things. Even people seem to be more, I don't know, with gratitude, gracious, compassionate. Every light turns green. Even the store clerk seems to have her mind together these days. It's the flow. No hold-ups, no setbacks. Just motion. Flowing. Reaching every destination and goal. Accomplishing great things. Flowing. In the process, watching the flow. Feeling the flow. You experience the growth. Such a beautiful thing.
Start seeing a sequence of numbers 111 444 333. This will go on for approximately 3 to 6 months until you recognize you are seeing a sequence of numbers. The next phase is that you'll start to wake up between the hours of 3 and 4. There are reasons for this. And then you will go back to sleep around 4 or 5. And the sleep that you have around 4 or 5 in the morning, you'll have intense dreams. These dreams will be so vivid that it will feel like you've slept for hours and you've only been asleep for an hour. These are ascension phases. If you are going through one or more of these phases, let me give you an idea. It's all good, but it's all you.
Live rise, you already know the vibes. Naga. Today we're going to speak about some potentials that you may not be aware of that's probably holding you back on some form of reality, right? But maybe taking a real, see, my hairs and my mustache be curling up, me like rubbing on my nose, but you always see me going like this. Because my hair is like, they get long right here. You can't see them, but they long. So they'll curl up and sit on my nose like that. It'll be like one strand. And it's aggravating. My hairs are curly. Excuse me. Now, it's things that take place to the body that stop you from being connected to certain values, but you're not aware of these things because time delegates agenda, and each level of people who have lesser knowledge to a circumstance kind of forget certain things as the new cultures come in because of what they're attached to, how they move. Someone want me to talk this morning, right? I ain't had this problem right now. It's out the blue. Let's go. So ultimately, it's these things you don't know that they, like, as time delegates agenda, you know, you may know of it, you may have some knowledge of it, but as you go through and your children come up, you forget these little particular things because you're focusing on the false priorities that they put into society. But ultimately, you need to actually, when things happen, we need to take note and we need to ask ourselves questions like, why aren't all the options there? I.e., one example, A, and they call it A for some reason, 4,400 hertz. Interesting. A meaning 1. What do we know about 144,000? So A 400 4,400 hertz. A 4,400 hertz. What happens with this frequency of sound, it stops all vibrations of connections from the shoulders down. So any universal signal you would get to your body from here down is blocked. This is the reason why you would moreover rely on doctors or other people or outside forces instead of going within yourself. There is a blockage right here, from here all the way down to your feet. Now, this is important because it shuts off the body's frequency. And moreover than that, it starts to control the value of the frequencies that's attaching to the water that's in your body. Now, why is this ultimately super important? Because you're unaware of your full control mass of what the probabilities of what you could do or even have the aggression to do these things. So when someone's telling you or asking you why don't you take control of yourself, you don't have a synapses that allows you to feel with that value. It's like, what is he talking about? I'll just go to the doctor. It dampens that value and it makes you dependent. You know what I'm saying? Codependent on certain things outside of yourself. It like brings your frequency down when you're supposed to be at a higher level of stability when you grow as you grow older. So these frequencies are cohesive to understanding the Tesla concept. 369. You can turn it to a 369 and get a different frequency. What is it? 528 is the frequency of love. So if you got your sound equipment tuned to the frequency of 528, you're gonna, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna love everything that comes out of that value because of its particular frequency. But moreover than that diagram of the subsequent value of what's happening with frequency, why did they turn or tune every single thing that you would listen to or listen through to a 4400 hertz frequency? Why would they do that and lock it into that, knowing that some of the best music and the most magnificent sounds balance or differentiate between frequencies as they're being played? Knowing that when you get these values, you tap into a higher frequency, not just only in your head, but within your body, subsequently allowing you to get more knowledge because everything has wavelengths. So understanding this value, it speaks to a German dickhead, I'll just say it like that, who went in and formulated this process to change everything into 4400 hertz. And now we're stuck in this process. But ask yourself the question, if it wasn't an attack on the vibrations of the human body, why didn't they give you more options to adjust your own frequency? It's interesting in that notion. And the universal frequencies that come from the divine principle, ones we can see in light forms and one we can't see in light forms. You've heard me speak about this in all the incremental sciences. You've heard me speak about this if you've been listening to my videos for years. Okay, so over in the value, the different frequencies that come from the sun, we are coalesced in that value. We are the minute value of that energy. But ultimately, our culture still wants to put us on some form of a pedestal. No, the universe itself creates the ebb and flow, the small ebb and flows that we deal with. And one thing people, they're failing to realize is the big waves in the universe, they always take longer to get to different things out. But the little waves always get to the shore faster because they break. So whenever you're riding and you happen to catch the wave up, you're just catching the flow. So this is why our DNA is changing. This is why particularly we're going through, because the plane of light that we are is at a risen aspect. So they said we came from that dip, that lower area. It was no universal energy really being output on that aspect. It's because it goes this way. So as it's pulling in, it has the one shooting out this way and the one shooting down this way. But this one's going into another dimension. You probably can see that on my Incremental Science 3. You know, I think I broke that down and actually did an illustration showing you how the energy transmute. It goes from, like, after it comes in us, it goes back through us and out of us. And that motion itself has to send it through another dimension in order for it to be purified, to come back as energy of sustaining energy. So this is where the whole divine flow of things, the etheric river, the divine force that's just filling up everything, that's just nonstop, is playing this master role to the forces like the universal wombs who are conducting some of this energy. So ultimately, it's not a question of understanding why we are going up and down. You know what I'm saying? We're going up and down because of the pull of the great womb. As she pulls, we're going to go up and down. That's the ebb and flow. But it takes a lot longer for our ebb and flow to happen because those are the giant waves and we're only an incremental value. We're only a spot in all of this. So as we rise up, now we're in the spot where light disperses and it gives off a level of energy. That's because it has suns that stabilize that particular energy. So until that billion, 100 trillion, gazillion years happen and all that collapses in, then nothing's going to happen. But this is sustainable energy that rotates in a dimension and out of a dimension through the whole into back to the source energy that's purified and used again, nonstop. It's just constant. So it may seem like to us, oh, something's happening, we're changing. No, we're in a particular flow that happens within ripples to us. So we've been feeling changes for over the last, 20, 25, 30 years. Everybody been feeling some form of change. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. One day I woke up and just said, you know what, I'm going to just start doing it. They look at me like, yo, you've been doing this your whole life. This was when I was in my 20s. Like, the change has been happening. It's not like we didn't go from black and white TVs to color TVs. It's not like we didn't go from house phones to cell phones. You know what I mean? Like, and moreover than that, y'all got to quit lying to these people talking about y'all be building cities and all that. Y'all knew South, y'all knew New York been here for thousands of years. You know, California been here for thousands of years. Or matter of fact, San Francisco. You know, a lot of these cities has already been built, and it was built by the original Niji here, the Indian here. So we ain't even about to. I might tap on that. I ain't about to. No, I ain't gonna go on into that. But anyway, you already know the vibes. Anyway, understanding the frequencies of the universe and how they come within to the body and how they come down and they solidify into a form of energy. You know, once you purify and get the right level of water in your body, you can hear it as like the most beautiful sound. I've heard the music before and asked people around me, did you hear this music? And they didn't hear me. They couldn't hear what I was hearing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in this situation, so I understand that principle and how that rise takes place and what it actually does for the mentality. Moreover than that, adjusting these frequencies into the value. First understanding when they speak about the word, and they's like, yo, the first thing before creation was the word. What was before the word? Who knows what was before the word? I'm gonna take a minute and do like the little Jeopardy. I think that's Jeopardy. What was before the word? Anything in the comments? Anything in the comments? I don't see nothing in the comments. I don't know. Maybe. Well, what was before the word was the water. It's the water, baby. The flow. Because the water was going to conduct the electricity. It's a beautiful thing. Man, I love me some water. Love me some water. I love me some water like this. Because I be drinking out of these, like this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? This is my water. Yeah, 5 gallons. That's my water. I love me some water. And this right here is water from the spring. It's really good. So ultimately, just to get you to understand that connecting the universal energies correctly, and you should feel it. Like, you should be moving more like a polymath. Like, I know I'm a polymath naturally because, as y'all can see, I be doing so many things, and these ain't even the things I really like to do. This is just what I can do right now. But the other things I can do is like 13 other things, and then I got some other things I can do, and then like some other things, and I'm all nice at all of them. You know what I'm saying? So, and I get like a childlike energy when I can do what is what I'm capable of doing, because I could do so much fly things. You know what I'm saying? So, but ultimately, this is understanding those frequencies and that energies and allow yourself to stay away from other energies. So if you can do that, try to balance out those frequencies of how you hear, so that you ain't got to have your energy blocked off, and you can get them vibes from the universe. You know what it is. You already know the vibes. Naga.
Supreme thought, supreme being, supreme light. I manifest the knowledge for wisdom to shine bright. How you think you see the moon unless in the sun bright? Women claim independent, you can never dim the light. Today's math is understanding, I'm about to get them right. The contrast to what's astral, take fight. The only thing you're really missing is understanding the fight. Supreme, supreme. Star in each sage and weed, I'm about to take speed and enter me, mastering 55 degrees to deity, higher in fire and cold water, into samadhi. You could never know my body. Bars. Naga.
You cannot understand God. You can only know God by experiencing it. From the book Kabbalion, it is stated that God by its very nature is something that cannot be understood. So, the pursuit of science to find God may never get it there. Because God is not an entity with a beard and anger issues.
Okay, I'm just noticing that whatever I said, nobody heard because the mic wasn't on. So I'm sitting there like, yo, wait, I just said something for a few seconds and nobody heard me. So let me, before I go into this right here is a nice piece of knowledge that was put together, and it speaks about a lot of different values, and I wanted to share it with y'all real quick. I got another one too I'm going to stream after this, so it's no copyright infringement, nothing like that. I got all the information in the description, you know what I'm saying? So you already know the vibes, but I just wanted to share this with you because I caught it, I think it was late last night or this morning, either or. These two I'm about to show you, so just vibe with me real quick and check this out.
Sitting on some throne. That is a human personification of God. God is everything. So, the essence of God is right here. Within you. But in the presence of your ego, its over-identification with ego, God is missing from your awareness. Ego separates you from the divine. And it is ego that has given God so many attributes akin to it. And has personified God. It has made God to be some external entity that has a fully developed ego that is capable of judging and hurting. Can't you see? Every single personification of God is so ego-like. Take any mythology or any deity from any religion. And you will see an ego, masked as God. That is the take of ego, in trying to understand God. As Neville Goddard said, it is one of the greatest spiritual secret and takes a spiritually awakened mind to realize that you can only examine a thing and try to understand it by looking at it from the outside. But you can only truly know a thing by becoming it. Therefore, you can only know God by experiencing it inside you. Otherwise, you will forever pursue it from an egoic lens, trying to understand it from the outside. And you will only get to know more of its creation and not it, because it is behind the veil of everything you see. As Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything is energy. And that life-giving energy.
Now, ultimately, I don't really like to touch on values of separating where energy is or how it explains or it displays itself. But I do have a clear understanding into some retrospect of what this really is, as far as people taking it in between entity aspect and deifying aspects. Just like we have contrast here, and if you understand the waves of the universe and how they're flowing in, before a wave becomes a ripple, it's a larger tubular. Like that tubular that rides that wave is big. That is considered to be a universe. And they get bigger as they go along through the waves. Within these tubular energies that wave down, the vibration of the one force, the one just divine force, that one all energy that breaks through space and creates wombs. It's gonna keep dwindling down in a contrastal aspect. That's just what it is. Farther away from the light, or depending on how much light you were able to obtain, how far you are from the light, and then that ratio are coming down. It speaks to its own value. You can see that. You know what I'm saying? So as it comes down, it explains itself to us in the contrastal value or the demographic ways of how we comprehend things and our level of understanding, and then we take that and say it's all of the universe, when in fact it's not even a portion of how the universe would even consider anything. Nothing of how we think. We only do that for our retrospect, and it makes us feel somewhat understandable just to look out and say, hey, this is what's taking place. But the most finite way that I can separate that and snatch it from them and make it simple is to put everything that's happening here and find a comparison. I had to find a comparison that's happening here on the plane of existence that's equal but amongst everything. And then it's equal to the universe. Even though the universe is large and grandeur, I had to find a comparison. And the only comparison is the waves. That's the only comparison. It's the waves. I don't know what else to tell nobody. Like, it's the waves, yo. Even down to the creation of a person. Look at a woman, how she curves down. Look how a man, how he's like smaller curves like the ripples. don't make this up. This is what's in the universe. Look over the top of a forest and watch the trees wave like this as the wind brush the top. Stand higher up over the mountains and over the states and watch how mountains and hills look like water has been waving it down. Look how the wind pushes clouds. I don't make this up. This is just universal off of a spin, how the rotation of the whole universe is spinning. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this is the galactic this and the moon. And I'm not saying none of that. That's stupid to even play with myself like that. To understand one thing is to understand everything. And we're at the bottom of the wave. We're at the bottom of the frequency of the waves. That's where we're at with it right now. You know what I'm saying? And understanding where you at with that, you got to know those larger waves got values that increase times 10 with those larger size waves. So for me to even get into the mindset of saying deity or separate values of God, no, I'm going to say it's entities or people or living beings like me, but in a whole nother aspect of where that divine energy is flowing from. Need I cross that line? I don't have to. They're not here. They wasn't born here with me. I got to rise my divine energy in this tubular aspect of existence. But that's just me.
Is God. But we will look at the thing and try to understand its attributes. Try to explain it with our logic. Missing the entire point. That the thing is same as you in its most fundamental essence. I cannot remember who stated this quote, but I want to share it with you. Listen to it very carefully. It holds a truth that is not understood by science. Here it is. The act of looking is the act of creation. What you will look for, you will find. What science will look for, it will find. But what it will find is another creation. As we are the mediators of God's expansion in our lives. So, what we will assume, give our dominant attention to, will manifest. As an individual or as a whole. Thus, the act of looking will end in the act of creation. As we are at the leading edge of creation. Manifesting new realms with our collective minds. Our thoughts and feelings are giving birth to new realities every single moment. The point is, you will not find God by looking for it everywhere but within you. What you will find when you look for God will be another creation of God. God is present when the mind is absent in you. God is here when you are here. God is pleased when you are pleased. God is joyful when you are joyful. Now don't mistake the momentary pleasure of ego to be the pleasure of God. Anything experienced from the premise of separation is not the real experience of God. God is there, but your ego that believes in separation will dilute the experience. Or altogether make it into something else. This is not to say that the ego is bad. Ego is the very reason why we have creation and endless possibilities. If we all knew who we are and believed in unity, there would be no motivation or need to create. Our individualized self is what makes this game of life fun. But hideous at times as well. So the point is not to get rid of the ego. But to develop it gracefully. Embrace it, but do not completely identify with it. Knowing that it is not you is the first step. You can then begin to enjoy your ego. It is called your ego, not you ego. It is something that you have. It is not who you are. The moment you are able to make a distinction between your ego and yourself is when you will begin to experience God in your life. And you will come to know it. This is not to say that you will transcend immediately and leave this body and become God. That is not the point. The point is not for you to start to dislike this life and go live inside a cave. The point is for you to know God. And then do God's will in your life. Do what God is intended for you to do. What is that? You know it. Not your ego, but really you. I have searched for God in many texts by now. Guess what? It has made me even more confused. But one feeling that I can't seem to shake off is this. Every single description of God that I have come across thus far is so egoic. It sounds so human. As if articulated by the ego. And then I realized that it is an attempt of the ego to try to understand something that is by its very essence not understandable. So, ego articulates it similar to itself. Because that is what the limited knowledge of ego can conjure. You can't know God by looking at it from the outside. Thus,
See, I always got a point for watching things like this, and it's not out of belief. It's out of watching the energy. Everything in the universe is waves, and if you are at a certain standpoint where you are at your understanding, then you can see how things are changing in a certain way. You can see how certain types of people, even within their conversation, it's like they're reaching out because they're dropping off, and it's only by the way they explain certain circumstances. Like your circumstance will be strong at a certain standpoint when you are opposing it to people, but then your conversation on the same literary that you would use before for controlling aspect, it starts to sound as if it's weaker and you are reaching for the connection to still hold on to that ideal of belief. And I spoke to this, if y'all was watching me speak to it, and this right here. And before I did a live speaking about belief and knowing. Before I did this, and I was saying that it's a time that we're gonna have to have this deep conversation with yourself, because you believe in and you walking away from the time of belief, but then ultimately you still, you know what I'm saying, you walking into the time of the knowing. So I ain't gonna even tally you on this. I'm gonna get into this next joint real quick, because you know what I mean, it is what it is. But this other joint is pretty dope. I'm gonna let y'all check out real quick. Hold on.
And specifically, this space agency is focused on the research and development
alternative propulsion systems and zero-point energy devices. He is a jack of all trades, this guy. I'm
so excited to have him on the show. I've been waiting so long
to talk to him. Billy, thank you so much for beaming in.
Thank you for having me on. And it's been a long time. I think it's been probably a year since I saw you last.
I think it was a year. I was trying to figure it out. That's right. Because it was the TCCHE.
Right.
Which, yeah. And I met you and Elizabeth. That's right.
Yep.
Man. So when I heard your story, so I've been a fan for years, Billy, and but I had no idea that you came from such a background. I had a sense of it, you know, when I first saw you, and I remember looking in your eyes and I was like, this is a man who's overcome a lot, but I had no idea the depth.
I don't belong here, you know, and I made it my lifelong mission to get out of that environment and to never go back. And then from there, I just focus on, you know, business.
It's the only kind of, you know, content I have a stomach for anymore these days. There's so much stuff on TV, and the world is violent enough. And
I remember thinking back in the late 80s, when that happens, then I'll be able to share my information. So I've been sitting back just literally waiting for this moment in time to occur in my lifetime, where we have the World Wide Web, which I didn't hear about it ever again after I read their prophecy till 1998.
That's right.
On a TV commercial. And I said, here we go. And so I started, my first company was .com Marketing. Not my first company, but my first internet company was .com Marketing Group. And that company was primarily building websites, and nobody had a website yet. So it was perfect timing. I would just call from the yellow pages Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I telemarket my own people, you know, my own list, and then make my own appointments, go out on them Thursday and Friday, sell them, collect the money, Saturday and Sunday, make the websites, and start all over again on Monday. And I would just specialize in like mortgage companies or finance companies, something that was, I can use a template, change the colors and the names around, change some of the product percentages around, nothing too crazy. And I can pop them out like this because I had a cookie cutter set up already. So I would just target all those companies, no product SKUs to deal with or nothing like that, just real simple. And eventually I had a few other businesses as well. And I just realized about around 2010, I was just like, man, I don't know how much longer I can just focus just on making money from being in business as an entrepreneur, which was great, but not being able to share all this stuff in my head with the world. And it finally culminated around 2013, almost into 2014, pretty close to 2014, when I walked into a company that I was the president of. And at the time, we were making about $200,000 a week in gross sales. And I walked in, there's 4 partners, and I said to them, I'm done. And I knew that, you know, I just said, I have to, the only way to get this is to cut it right there.
Yeah.
I cut it. I said, you guys can take my share of the company. I don't want to sell my share. I don't want to take any money from the company. I don't want to put a burden. I'll help and train, or anybody who doesn't know what to do, I'll do that. But I need to walk away. I have to fulfill my purpose on this planet. And then I walked out.
Wow.
I just literally walked out and started from zero, and really didn't take any money or anything like that. Just continued to build and reinvest everything back into what I was trying to do and develop over time. I had a long-term game plan already set up for when I would get to this point that I am today. And it's worked out, and even today still, I haven't even taken a real salary from Forbidden Knowledge since its inception. I don't really take home a paycheck like everybody in the company who works for the company. They all get paid. But I'm waiting for probably somewhere in 2023 to start taking a paycheck.
Yeah.
But
you're just building and reinvesting, right?
Just reinvesting, man. But fortunately for me, I'm able to play on the stock market. I'm able to, play in the crypto market. And
I'm trying to get to the part where certain things were spoken about, but I forgot that it was so long. So just bear with me. I'm gonna jump it up real quick.
Producer. If you struggle finding sounds and samples that work for you, then you have to check out this plugin.
Qigong and Reiki, and then he went to India to learn the mystic arts, and he taught reincarnation all the way back down into Egypt. And then the Bible picks up where it says, I called my son out of Egypt, and now he shows up riding on the back of a donkey in Jerusalem again at the age of 32, I believe. But this text is, it's telling because it shows you that he went to learn the Egyptian mysteries. And what is the original teachings or the original teacher of the Egyptian mysteries? It was Thoth the Atlantean. And that's why Jesus's words or his quotes of his words in the New Testament almost match identically to what Thoth is saying in the Emerald Tablets. However, that was 36,000 years ago. So you have to say, wow, this guy is he's regurgitating what he learned, or he is this entity.
Yeah, one of the other, and there's more than one, call it a gospel, call it a text that didn't make it into the final version of mostly propaganda, I call it. But there's a lot of text that talk about Jesus learning in the ancient mystery schools, and actually Mary Magdalene and Jesus's mother were also learned in different sects of the school.
That's right.
Different parts of the school, and this is backed up by a lot of texts that weren't allowed into the final copy for lots of reasons.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. All the apocrypha text was kept out.
That's right. So I mean, all the good. I feel like all the good stuff was the important stuff was kept out, and for a lot of reasons. That's a whole nother podcast. But
yeah,
so this it's amazing. There's a lot of great books that you can look into if you're interested in reading more about some of Then people will ask all the time, do Jesus didn't have a wife? I'm like, everybody it was accepted that they had wives. You know what I'm saying? Like Mary Magdalene is the one who washed the body.
That's right.
Why would that makes no sense? I mean, imagine that.
Yeah. Well, they found the gospel of Jesus's wife in that region.
That's right.
And it's now in the Harvard Seminary, actually in America. It's in Harvard Seminary. So if anyone wants to go study it or look it up, it's right there. He obviously had a wife, most likely had kids, and that would be the Merovingian bloodline, which is probably still walking the planet till this very day.
Yeah. It was there's probably a lot of people who claim that bloodline. I don't know how many people actually are, but
right.
Yeah. Some people are using that bloodline to do some heinous shit, and
yes,
unfortunately, a lot of those bloodlines are being monopolized by bastards.
Yeah, it's all been twisted. They've taken the Egyptian mysteries, which was taught on teaching men how to reach the light and become a golden age civilization, and then they've turned it into these dark entities or these dark societies, these secret societies like Skull and Crossbones. That originates from mystery schools. Illuminati originates from mystery schools. All of them. So you can just go down the list. It's like 30 or 40 of these secret societies, and they all originate from mystery schools. But that, the leaders of those schools have long gone, and now the people who had taken the knowledge, they go, you know what? If we use this same exact force and this understanding of wisdom, we can twist it and we can use it for darkness. We can actually monopolize. We can take over. We can dominate the masses. And so that's what it's turned into, unfortunately.
That is what it's turned into, unfortunately. Yeah. And, we're on a bit of a timetable. Hopefully enough people wake up and stop complying. Yeah. Because that's all it will take. And then the whole cookie crumbles. I keep telling people there doesn't need to be the revolution will be in consciousness and understanding. If no one needs to lift a finger, they just need to say, no, thanks.
That's it.
Not anymore.
It's so simple.
It'd be the most peaceful revolution ever. If people just get the knowledge they need to understand and connect the dots so they know what's been happening. And it's a big ugly web. It's a big amount of betrayal. So naturally, it's hard for most people to comprehend, let alone believe. But it's there nonetheless. I've been learning a lot about Atlantis and Atlanteans and Lemuria, and I feel like, and also learning more about what went on right before World War II popped off in Antarctica and some of these subterranean races that had some of this advanced understanding of technology that then came out and helped and shepherded the Germans kind of and gave them a way to survive without winning the war. And I'm starting to think and realize that was probably those same dark entities that caused the great fall, the collapse of Atlantis and Lemuria, and how there's a lot of evidence and writings that talk about this war that went on. Yeah. And it seems more and more to me like when I first started learning about it, I was like, really? A war? Could they have been as dumb as we are now? But I feel like maybe it came to that because you have some of these same forces and ideologies which are totalitarian and fascist to the core, attempting to shape the world in a lot of the same way that I'm learning went on 10,000 years ago.
Right.
And I'm wondering what your thoughts about that are, about Lemuria and Atlantis and what was going on with that conflict.
When you go back to the Emerald Tablets again, Thoth talks and warns about the Dark Brothers. And these Dark Brothers have been around for eons, permeating civilization after civilization after civilization, walking amongst men but unlike men, and pulling the strings in the background like master puppeteers. And these are the same people that you just referenced, the ones that worked with Hitler and helped Hitler with that whole thing that he did down there in Antarctica and everything else. These people are still here walking the planet till this very day, behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. There's always these laws and these rules and these situations that really destroy any type of semblance of humanity on this planet. But these people who do this, they operate from behind the scenes, and you see only the puppets in the front. Mm-hmm. You see the politricksters, you see the presidents and this and that and the world leaders. Those people aren't really truthfully the ones in pure power. They have the illusion of having power, but they really don't have any power. I mean, even the president of the United States can't make rules that would affect the state of Florida. The governor just says, no, we don't want to do that. We'll do what we want to do. Right.
Even more. I mean, very, very limited. The true change that they can affect, even with the way the laws have been twisted and turned. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very. But behind the scenes, at the highest level, there are the Dark Brothers, and we're talking about a very, very small group of people that are making all the rules and decisions, raising and collapsing economies, raising the price of commodities and crashing the price of commodities, controlling every up and down swing, all the way around the entire globe and eating off of all of it.
Yep.
And so, that's what's really going on behind the scenes. So these dark brothers are still walking the planet till this very day. And the only power they have is the illusion of power, because they don't have any power.
That's right.
We are just as guilty for what's happening to us as them. And the reason why is because they're just sharks in the water that smell blood. A shark is going to smell blood and do what a shark does. I'm actually not mad at the shark. But doggone it, why are we jumping in the water where the blood is located, knowing that the shark is going to attack? At some point, we all as human beings have to look in the mirror and we have to point the finger back at ourselves and say, I allowed this because how? My silence. I have an inclusion because I participate in all their systems. I believe in all their ideology and all their dogma, and I run with it and I teach it to my kids and they teach it to their kids without question. And so we're part and parcel responsible for what has been happening on the planet. And when people come to that epiphany, like, oh man, we are really responsible for what's happening. It's our fault for allowing it, because the government is supposed to work for us and they think we think
totally
that we work for them. It's the opposite. Like, they really fooled us. But
They
when
got
the people
everyone
wake up, that's when I think it's going to be. But that's what's going on. So Lemuria was real. Atlantis was real. There was a real golden age on the planet. That was just one of the golden ages. Lemuria and Atlantis were two separate golden ages on two different areas of the planet. Even though Lemuria was more in the Pacific, Atlantis was in the Atlantic,
right.
Atlantis within the Atlantic Ocean. But the war, it started because of this hatred and jealousy. You married this kind of woman and you got these kind of riches, and I want more control over this part of the planet. That ring city of Atlantis was just one capital. It wasn't Atlantis. Atlantis was the whole planet. Earth was Atlantis. Everyone is sitting on top of Atlantis right now, wherever you are. It's just that one of the capitals was the ring city, which was one of the most beautiful of the capitals, but there were capitals all over the planet. Aztlan and all these other places. All these places were all capitals. And so these beings, they started going to war against each other, using human beings as cattle to fight these crazy wars. And you can find a lot of these wars in the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible, in the Old Testament of the Bible. The book of Deuteronomy literally lays out a lot of these wars that are being issued by these gods. And I do mean gods with an S, because these people, whoever translated the Bible, they by accident on purpose didn't realize that they put God singular when all the translations, if you go back to the original text, say gods with an S. They took the S off the end to give you the illusion of monotheism.
Right. They did that. That's not all they did.
They did a lot more than that. They did a complete remix.
That makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of ancient texts, that speak of these battles and these wars. And some of the technology. I mean, you can go all the way back. Some of the oldest surviving texts speak of them.
Tens of thousands of years. You can go look at the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Atrahasis, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Code of Hammurabi, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas. I mean, I can just keep going. You go through these texts and all of a sudden you're like, war. Yeah. They even have WMDs. It actually says that in some of this text.
No shit.
I'm like, oh my God, we're just repeating everything that was already done.
That's what it seems like. And it's like, so, and I was talking to Michael Cremo. I'm sure you've heard and read his book, and he, amazing guy, so full of wisdom. But he was saying, he was like, why would they all be writing about this great conflict if it didn't happen? What is it? It's all symbology. You're talking about different cultures at different times. He's like, it doesn't make any sense. I knew that there was more. And he's so right. And it becomes so obvious when you start to connect the dots.
Yeah.
But we're not exposed to these things. We're not taught these things in school. We're taught fake history and a lot of other stuff that's probably not as important as some of these ancient lessons that we could be learning from.
For sure. Yeah.
It's amazing. I heard you talking about speaking of something that's a little more relevant to what's happening, but yet also has to do with ancient knowledge. You talked about this dwarf star, which is a companion to our sun that they're just starting to really learn about, and how that might actually be, causing some of the more sporadic
I ain't gonna hold you. Just go and check it out for yourself. Billy Carson, you already know the vibes. Naga. Didn't think I was gonna do it again, but here it go. Returning them bomb bars into the supreme flow. Respect, I only move for divineness. My center point of circle can follow the line in. I manifest supreme being, embodiment, connected to the stars. Light points be my history. Manifest and bringing back everything that's meant for me. My infantry. You don't really know who on my spirit team. I keep it me. Move through the air like the smoking head. Pick it out, let it go. Black fist in the afro. I'm on a horse, Geronimo, shooting a bunch of arrows on top of every pyramid. Repping just like the pharaohs. I'm repping everything new, I stand in Heru. I'm repping everything new, I stand in Heru. I freed the ibis, so got the bird's eye view. You, I freed the ibis and got the bird's eye view. Respect. Naga.
Bars heavy, bench press, you'll get your size up. Yeah, they always want to know really what's up inside us, we riders. Don't get it twisted, I'll break in sizes, you modest. I'ma stay king born, son, I promise. Try to cross that, you need to know where the line is. I was raised with gorillas, pit bulls, and piranhas. Solar ecliptic, see the reflection through the lumen, and I can see the gold from the sun come up through the turmeric. The star in need, bay leaf and time, cooking food again, a hooligan. Knowledge born, supreme cipher, the gods two of them. Divine balance in one motion, become two of them. Student and the teacher bring the knowledge to both you and them. Student and the teacher bring the knowledge to both you and them. Bars.